The golem was a so-called Jewish monster, an invincible animate giant of clay with a tongue but no speech. For words. It was the time of the blood libel. The Jews were forced to live inside the ghetto behind locked walls, and villains would dig up Christian children out of their graves and mutilate their bodies and hide them inside the ghetto. Sometimes just a knife, sometimes just a rumor. The pogroms started with words, whispered through the countryside, amplified by the church, proclaimed from the palaces. The Jews kill Christian children and bake their blood into the Passover matzah. The Jews kill Christian children. The Jews killed Christ. Then the mob would gather, given arms and libations by the local police. Then the gates would open. Every Jew knew then what a monster was. Rabbi Judah Loew of Prague tried to intervene in conventional ways, appeals and tributes and great religious debates. One night, just before Passover, he debated 300 elders of the church. Did I mention the debates were rigged? But he won this one, and his people wouldn't be expelled like the Jews of Portugal and Spain. This rabbi had a history of this sort of thing, at least in local lore. They say on the night of his birth, blood libelers tried to hide a body in the basement while the Passover Seder was going on upstairs. They heard the most horrible noises, groans and moans, animalistic, no, supernatural. Then the shoving aside of a heavy table and the thundering of footfalls. They leapt out the window right into the arms of the police, who were escorting the rabbi's mother to the doctor. She had been moaning in labor because he was so insistent on being born that night. But on this Passover, the rabbi hurried home and he sent away his wife and children. He buried silver and hid books, all in a cold sweat. The church would restore their dignity with an attack on the ghetto. He fell asleep on a pile of books and dreamed. Children climbed out of their graves, tore their tongues from their mouths and held them out to him, pleading. He woke, and in his hand was a piece of parchment, one word. He showed only his son-in-law and his scribe. It was the holy name for summoning a golem. He will be our protector, said the rabbi, and use violence where words have failed. That same night they drew him in the clay at the banks of the Vltava River, hulking shoulders, fists. First the son-in-law walked 7 circles, fire emanating from his body, baking the clay. Then the scribe with water spilling out from his footfalls. Tss. And the vapor was like breath on your cheek. It sat. It stood. 7 times the rabbi incanted, and then he breathed up into the golem's nostrils life. Yasala, little Joseph, said the rabbi, protect the Jews. And the golem nodded. Yasala, little Joseph. Kill if you must. Nothing can destroy you, not fire nor water. You can leap on an army from the ghetto walls and be not harmed. Yasala, said the rabbi. Obey only me. And then Rabbi Judah put the parchment under the golem's tongue, and Yasala followed him home. Now, when men came sneaking into the ghetto with bodies and knives, plots and lies, they met the golem. He did many things, but worst of all, people said, was just his stare. In his eyes, they saw nothing, and they fled, maddened. Thus the ghetto was protected 6 days of the week, and on the 7th, the golem, Yasala, like any good servant, was given his Sabbath rest. The parchment was taken from his mouth, and he became a statue. Until one Friday, when the rabbi, or perhaps it was his wife, forgot. They were busy with the cooking and the cleaning and the children interrupting. They forgot. And Yossele was left with only his prime directive: protect the Jews, kill if you must. He opened the door. You can imagine the scene. Danger everywhere. Children crying as they were dragged down the street by their parents. I don't want to go. Oh, and the bundles on their heads, on their backs, and the fires being banked for the Holy Sabbath. Yossele! The rabbi burst out of the synagogue to face down the rampage, his wife at his heels. Take the paper from his mouth, she said. I don't want to hurt him. He's not alive. The golem swept the rabbi up in his massive fist, unknowing, unseeing. The rabbi twisted, grabbed at the paper, and Yossele clamped down. Rabbi Judah finally saw what his victims saw. It wasn't just the power of speech that the golem lacked, but of discernment, of mercy. He tore the paper and tumbled down in a cascade of breaking clay red with the dust of it. Some say Yossele was wrapped in a prayer shawl and buried in the Jewish cemetery. Some say he was hidden away in the attic of Rabbi Judah Low of Prague, so close you can smell the Vltava River. They've looked. They've actually tested the dust in the Geniza, the storage center for old worn-out books in the rabbi's attic. I don't know if they used a little Ghostbuster machine. Nothing there. There's no scientific evidence of the golem. Sorry. But the books, the pages, the scraps of paper that have been saved as preciously as the bones of a loved one, it's there, some say, that the golem waits. And despite all evidence to the contrary, protects the Jews.